all day.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the ShipFlip channel. If I look weird, I'm messing with some different lighting, so just let me know, give me some feedback on that. But basically, I wanted to talk to you. If you've seen some of my other videos on StockX and how I sold some stuff out of StockX, on StockX out of Marshalls, then maybe you're familiar with some of this conversation. But I really think that StockX is the wave of the future, and I mentioned that in that video and in a couple posts I've made recently, that I think that the buying format on StockX is the wave of the future for the smart consumer. And what they do there at StockX, if you've never ever sold on there, is they treat hard goods, specifically sneakers and streetwear, as like they treat them like IPOs and publicly traded commodities. And so the way they do this is through bids and asks, and bids are basically what somebody that knows it's a specific product, like an exact shoe, like an Air Jordan 3, and they know that in size 10.5 that they'll pay, say, I don't know, I'm just making this number up, so don't double check this or anything. These might be worth way more, $250 for a size 10.5 Air Jordan 3, right? And so they're just going to put it up there on the platform that if anybody has one, they'll pay that for it. And then asks are the other side of it. Somebody owns a pair of 10.5 Air Jordan 3s, and they are, say, just an arbitrary number. I want $275 for them. And so, this person that knows that they're willing to pay $250 also can go out there and look and see that somebody is asking $275. Just like the person that's asking $275 can go out there and be like, hey, there's somebody that's willing to pay $250. And either one of them can decide to accept that sale right there on the spot. Now, that's kind of exactly the way the stock market is set up and run, except for on a much grander scale. And so these platforms like TD Ameritrade, that's my favorite one, they basically kind of do all that brokering for you, and the cost is $9.95. And so that's the only thing you really need to know there on that. But what I wanted to make this video for is because I see a lot of young people, especially, that are into flipping, and this is the new wave of buying, I believe, and this is for the smart consumer. We know that, and I think that the younger generation knows that something is only worth what I'm willing to buy it for, what somebody's willing to pay for it. And so this idea of letting corporations and letting people dictate the cost of something as an arbitrary not the cost of something, the price of something. They're going to dictate the price of something as an arbitrary number that they decided to put over the cost that it cost them to make or acquire that good, right? It's an arbitrary upcharge. That to me is kind of fading away, and that anywhere that we can find that there's a place that the consumer can dictate what that item is worth by saying what they'll pay for it, and you see this in like sports cards and other type of things, then that's actually a smarter way to do it. So the days of corporations bullying you may be coming to an end if we can all adopt this type of buying and understand it. But if you're a very good seller on StockX, why in the heck aren't you trading on the stock market already? Because if you and actually, when you're trading on StockX, you're looking up shoes, which shoes are going to release that are going to sell for a certain price. And you are saying, hey, I know that when this releases, it's going to release for $125, and I know immediately that based on whatever I'm looking at, that it will sell for $500 because the last ones did, or whatever. And on the stock market, you actually have a ton more of analytical data to back up that decision making than you do on StockX, right? Because all you're really doing is guessing, hey, this new Yeezy might pop like the last Yeezy did because this happened when that one did, right? And you're kind of only basing it on that. And you can look at that data on StockX as well. But on the stock market, there's just way more out there for you to analyze. But if you have the analytical capacity to dominate or run a store on StockX or sell at a very good level on StockX, then you should definitely be trading on the stock market. There's nothing to be intimidated about. You have the analytical capacity to do it if you're able to do StockX. Period. End of discussion. Because these apps have made it just as easy as loading up a gambling app with money through an ACH, an automatic draft from your bank account, and you can just deposit whatever you want in there. And then you're thinking probably, oh, well, the reason why I don't trade on the stock market is because I don't have enough money to invest in the stocks that I want to buy. Well, I'm here to tell you that also isn't the case. You can find stocks in industries and companies that you believe in that are kind of penny stocks that are at the ground level. Cannabis industry, I think, is one of the hottest ones to invest in. I've got a lot of money put there. And I think that is, just something that you need to take for yourself and decide, hey, what do I think is a good thing to invest in? What companies do I think are going to be good? Every one of us can look at this and be like, hey, I remember when Uber was coming out and everyone was like, I'm not sure about that, right? Whoops. So, and not to say that I had a ton of money at that time to invest in Uber, but I'm just saying there are probably people that think that are like, wow, I missed that boat. But either way, if you're the moral of the story here is that if you're successfully selling on StockX, that you possess the analytical capacity to sell on the stock market, buy, sell, trade, whatever, on the stock market, and you should definitely be doing it. So what I would suggest is you go download the TD Ameritrade app and start to get familiar with it, link it to your bank account, and make a deposit so that you have funds in the TD Ameritrade app. At that point, start looking up the ticker symbol of your favorite stocks and figure out what their price is per stock, right? And then what you need to understand there at that point is that every time you buy it doesn't matter how many you buy. Say you buy 500 500 shares of Nike, right? Anytime you buy a single purchase, there's a $9.95 charge. So you need to understand that you have to pass that threshold on both sides, right? So if you say you bought 500 shares of Nike, well, when you made that 500 share purchase, you paid $9.95 to buy those 500 shares. So it makes more sense to buy more, right, at once. You don't want to buy, like if you bought one share at a time, 500 times, you'd have paid that $9.95 500 separate times. So that should help you figure that out. But then also on the back end, when you go to unload some of those stocks, you have to understand that any sale of those stocks is going to also cost you $9.95. So say you only want to sell 200 back, well, that sale of 200 is also going to cost you $9.95. So you better hope that it went up enough to cover the $9.95, right? Like 200 of the Nike stocks better sell for enough profit to cover the $9.95 that you're selling on the front end and the back end. So basically $20, right? So figure that out and factor that in. But other than that, like there's nothing really stopping you. You have the ability, the analytical capacity, as I've said like 14 times, to do this. You have the know-how and you're able to figure out the same exact thing for shoes and sneakers. So why not just do it for actual companies, right? And the reason why I'm suggesting this is because you're going to be able to increase your financial wealth tenfold and faster by doing this. And also, I just think it's like a great idea. I wish somebody had told me when I was 18 years old or 20 years old or even 25 years old that I should like just not be afraid of the stock market. There's nothing to fear with it. And also, I think the things I feared were, oh, well, don't you have to buy a certain amount of stocks to even get in? Nope. Don't you have to have a certain amount of money to even get in? Nope. Don't you have to have a certain knowledge of something to get in? Nope. You can just download the app, deposit money, and buy, sell, and trade just like you're gambling on sports. But you know what? Like, it's better than gambling on sports, right? Obviously. So pick out some companies you think are good, some future companies that might boom in the future. And this is the same thing as flipping. The stock market is arbitrage, right? Like you're buying commodities at a low price and trying to sell them at a high price. That's arbitrage. That's the same thing you're doing with goods. That's what us flippers are doing with goods. And specifically the ones that sell on StockX, they're actually doing it the exact same way. So if you get anything from this video, it's that if you're doing that and you're on StockX and you're dominating, you should go download TD Ameritrade right now and open up an account and start making money that way as well. And you'll figure it out. Maybe you'll lose some money, but those losses will teach you, blah, blah, blah. I remember when I was a kid, there was this game called Drug Wars, and it was the exact same thing. And not to like glorify that or anything, but this game was basically just a little PC game that you downloaded, and there was like several different drugs or whatever, and they would have fluctuating prices, right? And you would have to just sit there and try to figure out like, ooh, I need to buy this one now, and then when it goes up in value, sell it off, and then you were like able to kind of start to memorize where those prices fluctuate between, so that you knew when to like buy other ones and when to sell other ones, right? And like, again, not to glorify that, because you could have used any type of good there. You could have used, it could have been sneaker wars, right? But either way, the whole game was designed like one thing would start to go down, it would bottom like around $20, and then you would know to buy a whole bunch of that, right? And then when that thing went up to like $40, you would sell off all of that, and then there would be a different one that had gone down at the time, and you would buy all that. And that's the same thing the stock market is. So if you were ever playing that game and you're older like me, or middle-aged, or whatever you want to call it, like mid, I'm not giving my age away, but either way, if you're that type of person and you grew up playing a game like that, or you did stuff like that, it's the same thing. You possess the analytical capacity to do this. Why aren't you doing it? So I hope I've encouraged some people that flip and that are into flipping, and specifically are really good at StockX, to get the TD Ameritrade app, or any of the other ones. I can't really think of them offhand, but TD Ameritrade's my favorite. I think it's the easiest to use. There's chats there that will help you all the time, tell you what to do, how to do it. But for the most part, if you're able to figure out StockX, you're definitely able to figure that app out. You should definitely download it and just buy your first stock. Go buy a stock that trades at like 1 cent a share, right? And you're gonna buy like 15,000 shares of that thing for like next to nothing, and it's gonna feel really good. You might not ever make anything off of it, but that'll help you like get used to it, and you can do volume if you stay small dollar, right? So, all right, hopefully you took something from this, and I hopefully encourage some of you to get on the stock market and trade and buy and sell, because I wish somebody had told me to do that earlier in life. And I think that if you're a reseller and you're specifically a StockX reseller, that you can dominate that type of platform, or just in general stock trading. And the earlier you get in on this, the better you're going to be at it by the time you're like 25 and making real money. So think about that as well. If you liked this video, go ahead and like the video. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe to the page. Go check me out on TikTok or Twitter. But also, in the meantime, I would hope that most of you took my message to heart, downloaded the app, made some money on the stock market, and in the meantime, get out there and keep flipping. Take it easy, guys.